way out in the open. This is the second car I've seen come by this morning, and it's probably about 12:30 right now, so it's been very private and secluded out here. Hello! It's like an oil truck. I wonder what they're doing all the way out here. Shipping gas, maybe? Some far-off gas station. Already starting to get really dirty in here again with all this sand and dirt. Utah and Colorado deserts is it's just hard to stay clean out here. The wind blows everything around, and Bo certainly tracks a good bit in. So I am right at the edge of the Colorado-Utah border on some more BLM land, of course, and I believe this might technically be part of the Canyon of the Ancients National Monument, or it's right next to it. So pretty cool area again. All right, check it out. The Montero gets a little bath here. Very nice. All right, so did a little driving today and made it to Utah. And just about 45 minutes in, I made it to this place called Hovenweep, which was highly recommended to me by Linus at Chimney Rock, and actually several other travelers I've met told me to come here. It's another archaeological site for the Pueblo Indians, and you can see a lot of their structures here. Along the trail, you can already see some of the sites. Here's one right here, kind of on the edge of a cliff. And this is the little ruined canyon right here. A stronghold house. And remnants of another structure right here. Check out this tower right on the edge of this cliff right here. There's another one. These are just scattered with ruins here. And I believe these were also built in the 1200s, just like at Mesa Verde, which is probably only, I don't know, not even 100 miles away from here. Just like Mesa Verde, these are all kind of cliff dwellings in a much more defensive posture. This is the Hovenweep Castle. Looks like the biggest structure in the area. It's interesting, they all have these tiny little windows in them. And it actually reminds me a lot of the Irish castles when I was in Ireland several years ago. I believe they had something similar, and it might have been to support beams or something. or maybe it was some kind of defensive lookout, just a small enough hole to attack your enemies, just maybe shoot bow and arrows through. I'm not sure, but it reminds me a lot of the ancient castles in Ireland. What's up, Bo? Let's go. All right, so that was Hovenweep, another really cool Pueblo Indian site. Very similar to Mesa Verde, except all of these structures were towers kind of on the edge of cliffs rather than up inside the cliffs that Mesa Verde had. Also very similar to Mesa Verde, they had an evolution over time. The peoples in this area around like 700 AD or something lived in very simple Pueblo type housing. But then the evolution of the structures progressed over time, and all of the towers you see out there were built in around the early to mid 1200s. And then again, just like Mesa Verde, right around the very late 1200s, early 1300s, everyone just disappeared, and there was no more. There hasn't been any more evidence of people that lived there past that time at all. It's theorized that maybe it was drought, war, or something else, changing climate, that made everyone disappear. But just like Mesa Verde, all the towers were built, and then within a generation, the people were gone. Just based on my experience talking to people and looking at these structures, my guess is that it was some kind of war, because they were all built in a much more defensive way starting in the late 1200s, whereas all the structures before weren't like that. So that points to me that, yes, there was conflict with surrounding enemies, and it would make sense then, if they had all the resources and were wealthy to build all this stuff, that why would they just suddenly disappear? It wouldn't make sense from their peak of civilization that they would put all this energy into building these magnificent structures for their time, and then for them to suddenly leave. I think they were building those towers because there was surrounding enemies and they were protecting something. So I guess it is possible there was famine too, but what would make more sense to me is that there was just a really powerful Indian group that just wiped them out. So I ended up talking to some other individuals later about the Hovenweep and Mesa Verde exit, why everyone left around late 1200s, early 1300s, after they were putting all this time and energy in building these incredible structures. And apparently it's a very contentious subject. Apparently there's a lot of disagreement between southwestern Indian Pueblo scholars about what happened, why all these people disappeared. According to one of the fellows I talked to, there was no evidence that it was because of war that the people disappeared. He said there was no evidence of warfare artifacts found at the sites, and I guess of some kind of, like, bodies or skeletons with war wounds. So even though that was the theory that makes most sense to me, I'm not sure that that is, if there's no evidence that supports it, I'm not sure if it is the most likely. A popular theory is that there was some spiritual leader that led the people away, or that the people used their astrological knowledge to, or astronomical, not astrological knowledge to, for some reason, leave and predict a drought or storm or something, and they just knew they needed to leave. I don't know about that theory, because I just don't think you would put all this time and energy into building these incredible structures and then suddenly leave. It's not like they were enslaved, peoples that needed to escape from somewhere. They were at the peak of their civilization. So the whole, Moses leading them into the wilderness theory that seems to be popular just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it didn't really seem to resonate with Linus, who was a very knowledgeable at Chimney Rock. She'd been there for 25 years and was considered the most knowledgeable person on Pueblo Indians in the, at the whole place. And she you know, she admits that, you know, everyone disappeared and just no one knows why, and there's all these different theories. So, but it's certainly very interesting. All right, stopped for a really good lunch at the Twin Rocks Cafe, and probably some of the best food I've had. It was just delicious. Talked to a Navajo girl there, and she was telling me about all the trails in the area. There's a lot of other cliff dwellings, you know, all around this area. You could spend months here literally exploring. But I thought it'd be really cool to go check out one that you can actually walk up in. It's unrestricted and not some kind of national monument. So to make matters confusing, there were two parking areas right within each other that both could have led to Monarch Caves. And I debated back and forth which one it is, because there's no signs or anything to indicate the trail or anything like that. Because it's just pretty out there. And they didn't have service, so I had taken a screenshot of the directions and it wasn't clear. So I picked the one that looked the most well-traveled, even though it had a lot of low-hanging brush as well. And you had to go through this little ditch right here, and then it led to the other side along this trail. And now that I think about it, they're probably the same in just separate parking areas for the same thing. And I think that I saw another trail meet up with this one, so I'm pretty sure I'm on the right trail. All right, so unfortunately I did not make it to the Monarch Caves. The trail was really confusing. There were a ton of forks, nothing was marked. And to be honest, it's not even clear that I'm even in the right area. It looked promising in the beginning, but then it's starting to get dark, and I've wasted a lot of time trying to figure out where to go. And the last thing I'd want is to end up there on the way back when the sun sets. I could get lost. I could encounter a rattlesnake or, you know, a coyote. Just not really worth it. I started too late in the day, unfortunately. So instead, I thought, let's start a fire. Looks like some pretty good fire burning material here. All right, look at that. Didn't even have to use my axe. All right, look at this beauty of a fire. After decades of training in the Boy Scouts, I'm a professional fire maker. Doesn't this look like the most professional thing you've ever seen right here? So I'm actually trained in the art of primitive fire making, where I could, if I wanted to, easily start a fire with a bow drill. So I'm going to use the most natural methods involved in the native to the Southwest areas to start this fire. Like I said, I'm a natural. This stuff burns beautifully. So dry out here. Probably didn't need any lighter fluid at all. I've got my handy bathing wipes, which I have been using for my little makeshift showers. So easy to scrub my body down with this and stay clean and fresh, and feeling and smelling good. And we'll definitely get all the sand off. Gorgeous night. I really cannot capture what the sky looks out like at night out here. You can just, everything is enhanced. All the stars, the moon is just, every night, just lights up the whole place. And it's not even half filled yet. I can see why the ancient peoples always considered the moon to be feminine out here. The moon just seems so much stronger and more powerful, and there's such a feminine quality to the moon.